Hi, I'm Jay Frost, and this is my beautiful wife, Kimberly. We've been married for 24 years.
And this is our story. We're gonna share our journey, and we're starting our marriage ministry and kind of just want to share with others what we've been through and that there's hope for many of you out there.
So we want to talk about where we met and how we met and how we graduated through to the point that we're at right now. And so Kimberly and I met in a bar. Probably not the best place, but we're together, and so it worked out just fine. And it was kind of a funny night for me though, because I was in the middle of a separation and divorce, and I wanted to go out with some friends. Things have been kind of uptight, around the house, and I didn't, just want to go out and have fun. And we went to the Arizona Center, and when I walked in, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and the place was busy, totally packed, but nobody was on the dance floor, and the music was rocking, and it was really weird. And I'm going, well, that's kind of weird. And I look over, and Kimberly is over by the DJ booth just rocking out. And I'm
party girl!
Yeah, total party girl. And I'm just going, wow, I got to go say hi to her. So I went over and I said, hey, let's get this party started. Nobody's on the dance floor, and let's go dance. And she looked at me and said,
I basically said, okay, well, where are you sitting? I'll come see you in a little bit. So I went over and talked to him, and basically I could tell something was a little off, and I'm like, this guy's married. I was 21, almost 22, and at that moment in my life, I was done with men. I mean, I had grown up pretty quickly. My parents divorced when I was 13. I went a little nutty. So when I met Jay at 21 years old, I was already done with men, and I just kind of had this feeling like this guy's married or something weird.
And she said that. She looks at me, she gave me the whole thrust, well, you're married, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am, but I don't want to talk about that tonight because I'm out with my friends tonight. I just want to have fun. And we danced a couple dances, and we talked, and we got along pretty good, and I asked for her phone number, and she asked for mine. And
I basically threw his phone number away. I was like, no way.
And I liked her. I waited a few days, and I called her up and talked, and then I explained to her, what I was in the middle of, which was a divorce, and I was just trying to go out and have fun, and not really trying to meet anybody, and just be friends and that kind of thing. And so we went on a couple dates, and went on Valentine's Day. We went to Red Lobster, and that was kind of a fun night.
But it was funny because I kind of, something deep down inside said that I was going to marry him. I just knew right then. But again, your past with your ex-wife, you almost became a pastor at some point.
That's true, yeah. And actually that's how my divorce ended up being where it was. When I was 23, I felt I was called to the ministry. And my wife at the time didn't feel that she wanted me to do that. And I, in my immaturity, said, well, then what's the point? And we both walked away from the church and everything. So we kind of went to, hey, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And so we partied a lot, and of course it's no accident that now we're going into a divorce. So that's where I ended up meeting Kimberly, and that was the process that was going on with me at that time. So we met, and we dated, and we had a lot of fun together, and moved in together.
So we lived together for 3 years before we got married. Got married in '94, and then we just basically sold real estate, made a ton of money.
Yeah, we were making a lot of money. We were making several $100,000 a year and spending it like we were.
We were spending, I mean, like he said, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. We had no God, no nothing. We were just partying, having fun. We would have these massive toga parties at our house, and everybody remembers those. They were a lot of good times. Traveled the world.
Bought some nice houses.
Yeah. So
had some nice cars. And in that process though, every once in a while, God would check in with me. He would kind of say hi when I'm at a party, and he's kind of talking to me, and I can hear him, and I kind of get real quiet at the party, and people are coming up to me going, what's wrong? You're really quiet tonight. And it just kind of, he was just checking in, and I knew he was. And I just told him, I go, I've been through this with you before. And I go, if you want me again, you're gonna have to get her. Yeah. And I felt that was pretty safe. That wasn't gonna happen.
And I was raised knowing that there was a God and that I prayed and stuff like that, but I was never raised in church or anything like that. And when my parents divorced at 13, I went crazy. My dad tried to take me to church a couple times, and I felt that condemnation, guilt, because the Holy Spirit checks in, and says, oh, you're doing all these wrong things, and it was very difficult for me when I was young. But there was something, that I was seeing with Jay, and I'd always ask him questions when we go on road trips, and he was always very kind and loving about it and never pushy.
Yeah, she would ask me a question about one particular subject of the Bible, that asked me what I believed about something in particular, and I would just describe to her what I felt the Bible said about that particular subject. But I wouldn't try to carry on more in depth or talk about other subjects and try to school her on what I believed. And that was it. Whatever she asked, I answered, and that was the end of it at that point. So as our lives went on, we finally decided after almost 10 years to have kids.
Yeah, and that was like, we built our home in Ocotillo, and then he became a builder.
Right.
So then we became custom home builders at the time, and I was pregnant with our first child, Rachel. And basically at that point, when I had her, I was like, there's a God. I mean, just holding your child and knowing that this was not me, this was created inside me by something higher than anything I've ever known. And I was in awe. I mean, I was just cry. I would sit there and stare at her and just cry and bawl. I know everybody's had their first child, and it is pretty amazing. Second one, you're not as amazed because I think you've been through that. But yeah, so then I went up to Jay and...
Well, I think even more so when she came up to me and talked about going to church. 9/11 had just happened 10 days after Rachel was born. And I don't remember exactly when she'd come up to me and said this. She walked up, she goes, I want to raise our kids with God. And I looked and I go, what? She's never talked about that or wanted to do that or desired. She goes, no, I really, why? Why do you want to? And I said, I'm sorry. Why do you want to raise our kids with God? And she goes, I want them to have what you have. And I'm looking at her going, what? I'm party guy now. I'm not God guy anymore. And she said that there's things about you that I want our kids to grow up with that I know is God in
right,
you.
Right.
And all I can do is look up and go, okay, you got me. And that's when we started going to church.
Yeah, and then so we had Braxton in 2003, and we were just living the life. We had two big, huge homes, one in Torreon and another one in Ocotillo. We had a house built on Lake Powell. We were living the dream. He was building homes. We had a subdivision going in Chandler. We were building specs. They were selling. We were just going nuts. It was just crazy, living the dream. But I was psycho, literally psychotic. I had two little kids, two big, huge 4,000 square foot homes, and a house built on Lake Powell. And we were like running here, running there, running here. I had to keep it all clean. I had to be this perfect little wife and have all this stuff, the American dream. And we had the cars and everything else, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
And all this time we're going to church and she's learning about God and she was enjoying that, or so I thought. It seemed like I was happy, and I had God from the beginning of my life, and I think it was just a different relationship. But for her, she wasn't, and I didn't even know. And
it was more legalism. It was a more legalistic approach, like I have to do all these right things. It was never a relationship. Like I never had that relationship. So then in 2006, we were just riding along.
Things were going
great. And in 2006, we heard about this Family Life Weekend to Remember. So we went to Tucson, we drug our friends with us, and we had the most amazing weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I just remember me looking at Jay and him looking at me, and we both said, we want to do that.
Well, the speakers that were up there speaking were just so awesome. They were married couples, and they're telling their story and telling us stories that we could totally connect with. And we're going, we want to share our marriage like that.
Yeah.
We want to have a marriage like that. And we want others to have a marriage like that. So it's like, we want people to see it and live that kind of life. Of course, we didn't even realize what we were missing out on. We thought everything was great,
Yeah, and we weren't really having any marital issues. I was just dying inside and didn't really know it at the time. But then everybody knows what happened in the real estate market, and like towards the end of 2006, because we were builders, we started to feel it. So in 2007, we had to lay off people from the company. I had to go work now at the office.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to pay anybody. We still had houses we were trying to build and finish up. And so I took over superintending and taking care of that. And everybody's telling us that it's going to get really bad. And I'm going, I'm a positive guy. I don't think negative like that. I go, you guys are wrong. It's not that bad. It's not going to go that bad. So we spent from 06, 07, and part of 08 basically supporting the company, trying to keep everything going. We had 7 spec homes and a subdivision we were developing, paying the bills on those, and it just didn't get better. Things just got worse and worse.
And then
banks pulled the financing on jumbo financing, and we had 7 spec homes between $750,000 and $4 million, and it's like, great, we were done. And I just said, well, hey, you want me to just go ahead and sign them over to you now, because I can't sell them, because you just told me you're not going to finance anybody who wants to buy my houses. And that's when things started to get really rough. That's really when I think things started to show up for you.
Well, we started losing everything. We had to pull everything out of our IRA that we'd saved, our kids' college funds. You know, one thing that Jay did with integrity was he wanted to make sure the little guys were paid. The big guys, you know, they'll make it through. The little guys, they had families to feed. And he was like, I don't care. We're going to do everything we can to pay these guys, even if it hurts us.
Yeah, and God was telling me that, you know, you're the one who did the investing. You're the one who bought these properties. Why should the guys who are the subcontractors not get paid for the work they did? So we cashed out our kids' college funds, cashed out our IRAs, paid all that we could, and
then we put our houses on the market. Like the one that we lived in Ocotillo, we hadn't put on the market yet. Right. But the one in Torreon we did. But needless to say, nothing was selling. That was a second home market. So that got foreclosed on October of 2008, November roughly. I remember we went up there for our last Thanksgiving, and we moved everything back down. And so we lost that house, and then we came back home. And we said, okay, we're gonna have to short sell this house in Ocotillo. So what was weird is, like, we were going through all this, so we ended up having to file bankruptcy. So we filed double bankruptcy. We lost $14 million in real estate. We lost everything that we knew. You know, and this was my life. I was materialistic. I was stuck in all that. I was supposed to be rich. I was supposed to be like, you know, this person. And it was all about this, you know, this image. And so it really started getting to me bad. And so during this process of losing everything, we had filed bankruptcy in December. Well, it was discharged December 2008. So we started saying, everywhere we looked, because we've been selling real estate out here all our lives, we're born and raised, you know, we're like, oh my gosh, we're a failure. We're a failure. Everywhere we looked.
All the things that we enjoyed doing, you know, going to the restaurants that we went to, going dancing, all the things that we loved doing, and the places we visited and throughout the city, everywhere we looked, those were all the places that we couldn't afford to go anymore. And it was just depressing everywhere we looked, and we just started talking, you know, maybe we just need a change of venue. We need to get out of the city of Phoenix.
And even the realtor friends that we had, I mean, everybody was so negative because everybody started feeling it then. You know, we were one of the first to go. The lenders, the builders, they were the first to go. And then the realtors started feeling it. And that's our whole livelihood was real estate. We couldn't even get work in the city. We couldn't get any jobs, nothing. So we said, okay, well, if we would move, where would we go? And we both said, Colorado.
We love Colorado.
So we started praying about it. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing.
We asked God, we asked God for signs. If this is something we're supposed to do, God. And of course, when we were going through these troubles, we were just getting closer to God, which people make 2 choices. Either they get closer or they run away. And we were just getting closer to God. And we said, okay, God, if this is something you want us to do, we need to know it's the right thing to do. And I'm somebody, if I got to know God wants me to do something, he needs to hit me the head with a brick, because unless he hits me over the head with a brick, I'm not going to do it.
So we started seeing signs, like meeting people from Colorado.
All of a sudden,
cars in front of us would have Colorado license plates. So it was March of 2009. It was the kids' spring break. We had no money. We were living in our house, getting ready to get foreclosed on that house, but we knew we had to short sell it. So we took the kids, jumped in the car, and we went to Colorado. And we just started checking it out. And we ended up in Woodland Park, met this realtor.
Outside of Colorado Springs, there's a beautiful little town just below Pikes Peak, up the mountainside. And it was just a beautiful area. And then we drove into this subdivision, and there was a gentleman there selling real estate. He had an open house, and we walked in and started talking to him. And we told him what was going on, and he goes, wow, I know a builder who might need some help. and being that I was a builder and looking for a job now because we lost everything, connected us with a builder that seemed like it was a great opportunity. He had a spec home that was like 5,000 square feet, which all our furniture would fit in beautifully.
We were gonna stage it and hold it open, and so we had this all worked out. We went back home and we said, okay, if this is where we're gonna go, then our house is gonna sell. Actually, just before we left, we put our house on the market.
Yeah.
And when we came back, we had 3 offers. So we knew, okay, this is God, this is where we need to go. So we took my mom's credit card, because we didn't have any money, charged up the move. We had to get one of those huge Mayflowers, huge truck to fit all our stuff. We had to have all our stuff. And then we moved to Colorado. We went on our way, and then we get this call from the builder guy that he's supposed to work for.
The house wasn't going to be ready. And he tells me the day the truck is on its way up there, a Mayflower 54-footer, top to bottom, packed full. And he was a good guy. He was trying to work it out with us, you know. But we're going, hey, why do we know this now? We could have waited. We could have delayed the close. Anything we could have done differently. And so it just seemed like on our way up there, without notice, everything starts falling apart. And we talked about it, and Kimberly's going, should we just turn around and go back home? You know, tell the truck to turn around and bring it all back home. And we just go, no, we were called here for a reason.
And we said, we're gonna go as a family. We're gonna just make this work out as a family. So we get there.
Right, we did talk about me going up there and checking it out. Yeah, who's staying, that's right, I forgot
and then we just said, no, we're gonna go as a family. So we did, we ended up going. The house wasn't ready. We had to put our stuff in storage. Basically, the movers stored it for us, which cost us another $1,500 on top of the $6,000 we'd already used on my mom's credit card. We lived in a tent.
For the first week, we couldn't afford a hotel. And what I thought was, the trailer I was pulling with my little truck, what I thought was that we had a tent in there, a full-size tent for a family. And the only tent I did have was a 3-man tent. And the 3-man tent was enough for Rachel, Braxton, and Kimberly, and one of the dogs.
One of the dogs. I had
one of the dogs, right. So we set that up, and then I threw another tarp over the top of it because it looked like it was going to rain that night. Well, sometime around midnight that night, it starts hailing and raining like you would not.
And it did not stop.
And I can't get out of my truck. It's raining so hard, I can't get out of my truck.
So he's in the truck with the other dog.
And a turtle.
The turtle. We had our turtle. The house plants. And literally, I'm in the tent, and all I did was tell the kids, come closer to mom. And luckily, we did not get wet. We woke up in the morning, and he's like, oh my gosh, honey, are you okay? And I'm like, we're fine, but this is miserable.
And all the people knew our situation when we were putting it together before it rained that night. And so there's a gentleman there who used to work for Coleman. He did music and stuff for them. And he gave us a huge family Coleman tent and gave it to us.
And we have it to this day.
And we still have it to this day.
So we lived in a tent for about a week.
Right.
And then
we found a rental.
We found a rental. We were like, okay, what do we do? Do we stay here? Do we go back home? We weren't sure. And at that point, I was so mad at God. I was livid. I took off. We were at the park with the kids, and I took off, and I was just screaming at God. Like, I was just so mad. I'm like, why is this happening to us? And, you know, little did I know what was going to, you know, come about later now where we're at. But, you know, when you're going through those trials, you don't realize until you're out of it, and then you see, you know. But we ended up, we're like, what should we do? So we ended up just getting a rental there that would fit our stuff.
Which was very hard to do because
so we found this huge 4,500 square foot home that would fit our stuff, and had to try to make it work. We weren't making any money. Well, he kept getting phone calls. People buying houses here that were his homes that they picked up on a short sale or the bank owned, because a lot of people were just letting their houses go back at that time. So he came back here, he had all this remodel work.
And we couldn't get it before we left. We only got it after we left.
So he's commuting back here. I'm up there, no money, 2 kids at 9,300 feet. End of September, we get like 21 inches of snow. I can't even get up our driveway. I have no friends. He's like, why don't you go to lunch with some of the girls from church? I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? Tell them I don't have any gas to get to meet you. Can you pay for my gas, or can you come pick me up? And also, can you pay for my lunch?
Right.
So it was so bad that we actually ended up having, this was the most humbling experience. We had to go get food stamps. And that was crazy. I just remember that day we walked in and we were both just like crying, and we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're to the point where we were multimillionaires and we're now having to live on food stamps to feed our family. It was crazy, but we tried everything to get a job there. We didn't know that now the whole nation felt it, like
Right.
in '09.
Arizona is one of the first states to get it, but everybody else kind of balanced out.
Arizona,
And started
Florida, and
getting it more and
California,
more.
yeah. And Nevada too got hit. So anyway, so I did what I could do, and I just said,
You're
okay,
cleaning houses. Yeah.
I'm gonna go clean houses. What am I gonna do? So when the going gets tough, the tough get working. And I used to clean houses when I was going through college. So I was like, I'm just gonna go, and we would take the kids. We would make these flyers, and we would just hit all the houses. I had some good, amazing clients, and I started cleaning houses. And then you just started getting work just anywhere.
Yeah, my first job after owning a company and being a millionaire, my first job in Colorado Springs was a barn that this lady who owned it wanted to lift it up. It was the oldest building in Colorado Springs. Lift it up, take the footer out, put a new footer in, and make it a wedding reception place. And my job was to dig out that footer. I'm 47 years old, and I'm digging out the footer, and I'm happy. I'm just joyful because I know God's got a plan for us, and I know it's going to be okay. And I'm smiling, and I'm working my tail off for this lady who's paying me $10 an hour. After the first week of working with her, she paid me. She paid me $15 an hour. And I just went, wow, thank you. She goes, you worked really hard. She goes, you deserve this. So I was working through everything I just lost. As the man, I can't provide for my family. The two careers I have are building and real estate, both of which were dead. And I didn't know what to do. And I was just myself, my ego, everything. I was just lost. I didn't know what to do, how to do it, or how to make my life work again. And
yeah, so he was going through all this, and I was just completely broken. Like, I was dying inside.
And I didn't even
want to live. It was so bad. I had these two little kids, because they were, 5 and 7? Something like that. So anyway, I would come back here quite a bit. And I just started walking the other way. I mean, the devil got in, and I just started walking the other way. I would go out with my girlfriends. We'd party. I was cheating. I was just a mess. I didn't want to live, and I didn't even want to be married anymore. So the crazy thing is that we came back at the end of '09, around Christmas. He kept getting jobs out here. And
so we decided to stay.
So I'm like, he came out here in November for Thanksgiving. And he's like, I've got another job here, and I'm just going to stay through Christmas because I know you're just going to be back. So at Christmas time, I come back with the kids, and he's like, we're just going to move back. Because, we said we'll give it, another 3-4 months. And it just got worse. So we knew that we had to live with our parents. So here we are. I'm 40-something. You're 47. I was 40. And actually 41, 42. You were close to 50. We're moving in with his mom. Basically had to live in a 24x8 RV trailer with our two kids.
Outside of an airplane hangar that was
on their land at 83rd Avenue in Pinnacle Peak. And we had an airplane hangar. And he basically built a closet because I had to have my clothes and my shoes. And here we are. The church came, brought people. We rented trucks. They came up there and they moved us down in all these little U-Hauls. Yeah. And we had to leave some stuff there that we couldn't even bring back. Again, so much stuff had gotten broken the first move, and literally had to put everything in this airplane hangar that was not even airtight, watertight. Everything got ruined in there.
And
we were selling stuff on Craigslist for like pennies, like all my beautiful stuff. And I had to sell it all. Well, God was teaching me this is just stuff. But it was killing me inside. Like I was getting broken down so bad.
Yeah, but even more than that, a lot of the stuff that she was going through, I knew what was going on. God was telling me. And when she headed down from Colorado, Halloween, God's telling me, you need to pray for her because she's not on the right path anymore. And all I could do is get on my knees and pray for her and just ask God to guide me to what do I do in this situation to help her get through what she's going through. And we end up coming back here to Phoenix because one of her main issues was that she didn't have her friends, And so I said that was one of the reasons why I chose that we need to come back here in family. And then, she's still going out after we get down here and, still
And I was going out. I mean, I didn't care. I was just like gone. He's like, what are you doing? I didn't care. I was just out having fun till 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I was going to rocky point with my girlfriends. We were just, I was just living a different life, and I didn't want to be married, and he knew it. But he didn't give up. He fought for me, basically, and especially with his prayers and everything. And I just
God was fighting for you too.
Yeah, and I just remember one night I was so upset. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to do anything anymore. And I just drove out into the middle of the desert. And I was texting him, and I'm like, I can't do this. You're strong. You take the kids. I'm done. I just don't know what to do. It was so hard.
And I'm texting her, and I'm going, I don't know what to do for you, honey. I go, but there's a life after this. And she was just going into this thing about her mom used to say, I'm a con man, I'm a salesman, and all this stuff. And God just caught me and just said, you need to tell her, I'm not a salesman. I'm not a con man. Caring for somebody is what you do, and trying to help them get through their problems. And that's what I told her.
And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just sitting there.
Silence for 10 minutes, no response to what I just said.
And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, God, what? And I just knew deep inside, he's a good man. He's a good man. And I'm like, this world is crazy. I was out there, and I'm like, I don't want that. That's nutty out there. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to break up the family. I'm going to make this work. And I did. I texted him and said, I'm coming home. So that was it. We turned around. We went and started meeting with pastors and counseling and things like that. And then, he started doing fix and flip remodels. And we ended up back at the Weekend to Remember Family Life in 2012. And we drug our friends again. And anyway, so we found another church. And in this process of all this other church, I went to this retreat and literally came back just on fire for God. I finally felt, oh my gosh, it's about relationship. And he had grown me to the point where I had to go through what I went through to know,
and we both did,
that it's about relationship. And literally, I'm not saying it's easy, but I remember from like 2012, 2013, 2014, I really we saw our friends going one way, we went the other way. We went towards God. And it was the most isolated, lonely time in my life, and it was very difficult. But I would just get up, and I would just listen, and I would read the word, and I would just have him. It was that wrestling. I would just have him change me. It was a choice. It's either me or it's God. And I had to surrender everything to him. And so I did. And then here we are. I mean, literally, God has restored and redeemed, and our marriage is better. We're now doing more marriage ministry. We just went to the Weekend to Remember again in December of 2017, and now we're on the local team with Family Life.
And we love that. And the thing with what she was going through, God was just teaching me that he can do anything if you just let him and trust him. It was pretty amazing for me. And the other part of that too was that who we were was awful, arrogant, and all that, and had all that, so that made us have all that, and that made us all that, right? All the stuff. And taking us through this made us realize that that's just not who he is and who he wants us to be. And how he's changed us now to just be, it doesn't matter what we have. We don't even want it anymore. If God bless us with it again, great. If he doesn't, we don't care.
And we would never do that again. I mean, now I think our hearts are to give back, to give, and not to live as selfishly as we did. And it was funny because my mom the other day said, I didn't like you. I didn't like you at all.
Well, and I'm sure she wasn't the only one.
Right.
There were a lot of people that way, we're sure.
And it's funny because you see all your friends back then. They're not your friends when you lose everything. And you really do find out who your true friends are. And life, and God has that promise that he will fulfill all your heart's desires. And it's so true because I have so much joy and peace now. And now we just want to proclaim it and preach it to the world because there is hope. And he forgave me. It took a while, the trust issues, but we both had trust issues. I had trust issues on another level. But even though we were broken, God can restore and he can make it better.
And he does.
And that's where we're at now. And we just want to let everybody know that if we can go through this, so can you. We had so many friends divorce. We had another couple friends commit suicide during this time. And, you know, I was almost there. I was almost there. We were almost there. And God brought us through.
And that's what we want to share.